10. Knife-wielding killer crab. Kyle King is a Michigan native who moved to Japan. He never in a million years thought he would get into a physical altercation with a knife-wielding crab. And yet that's just what happened to Kyle when he went camping in 2022. Kyle woke in the middle of the night to see one of the largest crab species in the world scuttling around in the shadows with a steak knife in its claw. Kyle captured the horrifying interaction on film and uploaded it online, claiming he was lucky to be alive. The truth is that Kyle was never really in any danger, but it was still a pretty bizarre incident. He says he traveled to the uninhabited Komaka Island in Okinawa to do some camping. He set up his tent and went to bed. Then a strange scratching sound outside his tent woke him up at around 2 o'clock in the morning. When he went outside, he found a coconut crab with a knife in its claw, looking like it was ready for a fight. He pulled out his phone, hit the flashlight, and started recording. The crab then backed away slowly, and Kyle was able to quickly snatch the knife from the crustacean's grasp. Nobody knows where the crab got the knife, although it was likely just left over from someone's abandoned campground. As for the kind of crab this was, it was a coconut crab. These monstrosities can weigh over 9 pounds, 4 kilograms, and grow to be 3 feet, 1 meter long. People also call them robber crabs because they have a tendency to steal anything they can get their claws on. 9. Impaled by a monkey. 2022 was a deadly year for animal attacks in India. But not every victim of animal fury ended up in a grave. 20-year-old Khatija miraculously survived being attacked by a monkey, falling off a roof, and being impaled by a steel rod. The incident began on a rooftop in Uttar Pradesh. Khatija was hanging out on the rooftop when a group of monkeys started harassing her. As she tried to fight them off, she lost her footing and fell 22 feet, 6.7 meters onto the boundary wall below. The wall happened to be made of spikes, and one of the sharp rods stuck through her stomach like a Spartan's deadly spear. She was turned into a human shish kebab and had to hang there for over an hour before her family members found her. Khatija was taken to the hospital with the rod still in her body. Emergency surgery was done, and she survived. She's going to have a really gnarly scar for the rest of her life, but she survived the initial impaling. 8. Sharks and lobsters. Early on a Saturday morning in 2018, a young boy diving for lobster was attacked by a shark. It was barely even 7 in the morning, opening day of the lobster diving season in California, when the unimaginable attack occurred. Authorities were forced to close a huge stretch of North County coastline for the whole weekend because they feared the shark would strike again. Because it was the opening day of the season, there were about 24 hunters ready to start diving for lobsters. But before anyone could make a single catch, they heard horrible screaming coming from the water. 200 yards, 183 meters from shore, came the high-pitched squeals of a 13-year-old boy. Chad Hamill, who was there lobster diving with some friends, thought he heard someone screaming in excitement. But as he paused to listen, he realized there was someone screaming for help. Chad and his friends managed to rescue the boy and get him into a kayak, then bring him to the shoreline. It was a good thing too, because the boy was so badly wounded, the water was turning a dark crimson red. Chad said the youngster's whole clavicle was ripped open from where the shark took a bite out of him. He could look into the wound and see his ball and socket joint. As they were trying to flee the water, Chad and his friends even saw the shark following behind the kayak, hoping to finish off its kill. It was about 11 feet, 3.3 meters long, possibly a great white. Luckily, Chad and his friends rescued the boy, and he was taken swiftly to the hospital. The teen did make a full recovery, but he'll have to live with the memory of that fateful day forever. 7. Swarm of bees. In India, bees are no joke. A farmer in 2022 was attacked by a swarm of bees and died. The man was working in his field outside Amkara village in the late afternoon and then never returned home. When the sun went down with no word from the man, his family began to worry. Everyone went out to look for him, and that was when the villagers found 70-year-old Sundar Lal lying dead with bees buzzing around his body. He was so covered in bees that it was almost hard to tell he was still human. His family couldn't even get to him and had to use smoke to drive the bees away. By the time they finally got the bees to leave, it was too late. Sundar Lal was already dead. We still don't know exactly what went on that day in the field. One of the villagers told authorities they discovered a large beehive on a tree that had been taken down. The hive may have been smashed by some local troublemakers, and then the bees moved towards Sundar's farm in anger and attacked him. 6. Elephant trampling. Villagers in Korba, located in the Indian state of Chhattisgarh, were not very kind to a group of elephants who were making their way through the area in late 2022. The villagers allegedly killed an elephant calf in cold blood. The calf was only 1 year old, and its early demise threw the entire herd of 44 elephants into a grief-stricken rage. The elephants became so furious, they trampled a man to death in revenge. Humans getting into conflicts with elephants is nothing new in India. These types of conflicts have been rising in recent years because the elephants don't have much space left for themselves. They're always wandering into villages, eating crops, and destroying property. After the death of the calf, all 44 elephants barged into the village, trampled a man named Pintawar Singh to death, and continued to cause havoc. Pintawar had been minding his own business, taking care of his cattle, when the elephants came out of nowhere and ran him over. In the aftermath of the brutal elephant rampage, local officials uncovered the body of the calf hidden on a farm near the village. The calf had been buried so nobody would find it. The owner of the farm was detained and could face serious consequences. Duncan McNair from Save the Asian Elephants says the attack was undoubtedly a retaliatory action. The herd of elephants understood the calf had been taken from them cruelly, and they went specifically searching for the man who did it. Elephants are incredibly intelligent. Their brains weigh over 10 pounds, 4.5 kilograms, and have incredibly complex surface folds. This means they likely experience emotion on the same level as human beings. Some experts have even suggested that because of their impressive memories, elephants are more emotionally developed and more naturally intelligent than humans. 5. Monster grizzly attack. In Montana during the autumn of 2022, a bird hunter had a terrifying encounter with a monster grizzly bear. The bird hunter was out on a Tuesday afternoon looking for upland birds east of Shoto. As the bird hunter readied to flush the birds from the bushes, something was taking notice of him. According to Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks, it was a 677-pound, 307-kilogram grizzly bear. The beast charged out of the thick brush and attacked the bird hunter at extremely close range. The bird hunter was joined by his wife and dogs, and all of them knew there was something strange going on in the bushes. The dogs were freaking out. They could see something brown through the foliage, yet nobody expected it to be a snarling monster. Just as the man was ready to flush out the birds by creeping into the brush, the fully grown grizzly exploded towards him. This thing was 3 times heavier than your average NFL running back, packing teeth and claws. It hit the bird hunter at full speed, plowing into him like a runaway truck. The bear knocked the bird hunter over, but didn't bite or scratch him, and then ran away into the bushes. The bird hunter walked away from the situation without so much as a scratch. The bear simply wanted to avoid confrontation at all costs. If it had wanted, the bear could have easily eaten the hunter, his wife, and the dogs too. 4. Wrestling a lobster. In 2007, Chris Hovard got into a fight with a lobster only a few yards from where children swam at the beach. Chris was diving near Weymouth Jetty in Dorset, England, when he came face to face with a gigantic monster lobster. This thing was over 10 pounds, 4.5 kilograms, and estimated at 50 years old. It was snapping its huge claws, threatening to pinch Chris, and was so big, Chris said he would have needed a saddle to ride it. Chris had been diving for over 30 years, and yet he had never seen a lobster anywhere near as big as this one. He and the lobster got into a brutal wrestling match, and Chris luckily managed to get it stuffed into a bag without losing any fingers or toes. After the altercation, the lobster was given some seriously special treatment. Chris named it Lemmy the lobster, then took it to the Sea Life Park to be put on display. Now the lobster is a local hero. 3. Gourd by a boar. A man was killed by his very own pet pig in a tragic case of wild pets gone wrong. His name was Omnue Suriwong, and he was 68 years old. The man was discovered in a pool of his own blood after being attacked by his beloved boar in November of 2022. According to the people who knew him, Omnue had raised that boar as one of his own since it was a piglet. He loved his boar, and the boar returned his love by viciously murdering him. The man and his pet boar lived in Thailand, out in the country where it's not that unusual to see pigs in people's front yards. Paramedics found 2 wounds on Omnue's thigh, suggesting the boar stabbed him there with its tusks. After the violent attack, the oversized pig took off and Omnue was left alone to die. Local villagers hunted down and killed the boar to prevent it from mauling anyone else. But they were all extremely shocked by the incident. The man's neighbors said they had never seen the boar display any sign of aggression to anyone. The man and the boar were basically best friends. The pig was seen as tame, neighbors would bring it vegetables to eat, and nobody can explain what went so suddenly wrong. 2. Man-eating tiger. For years, a rogue male tiger terrorized remote communities near the Valmiki Tiger Reserve in India. The tiger had a hunger for human meat. The big cat killed a man, acquired a taste for human blood, and went on to kill 8 other people. In late 2022, police officers finally captured the man-eating tiger and put it down. It was no easy hunt either. It took around 200 police officers working with district officials to find the tiger. Some officers were even patrolling the jungle on elephants just to track the big cat down. Authorities eventually surrounded a sugarcane field where the 3-year-old tiger was hiding, and that was when they euthanized the feline. Although the nearby tiger reserve is technically a sanctuary, some tigers don't feel it gives them enough room to roam. They end up wandering into human civilizations and eating people. When that happens, authorities don't have much choice but to protect their human citizens. The decision to initiate a full-blown manhunt for the tiger came after its most recent confirmed attacks. A mother and her baby were consumed by the tiger, prompting an immediate call to action. 1. Amelia Earhart and the coconut crabs. In 1940, researchers on Nikumaroro Island discovered the mangled remains of a human body. They found a broken and battered skeleton that had been torn limb from limb. At the time, many believed the body belonged to American aviator Amelia Earhart. She disappeared on July 2, 1937, during her attempt to circumnavigate the globe. Accomplishing the daunting task would have made her the first woman to do so, but she and her navigator, Fred Noonan, vanished somewhere over the Pacific Ocean. They never completed the trip. Nobody ever saw her again, and Amelia was declared dead on January 5, 1939. When the skeleton was found on the remote Nikumaroro Island the year after, it seemed like the mystery was finally solved. Judging by the damage done to the skeleton, it was clear Amelia, if it really was her skeleton, had been attacked. Specifically, she had been attacked by coconut crabs. Everyone knows coconut crabs are scavengers and monsters, and they may have taken advantage of the stranded, wounded woman with their powerful claws. The skeleton was never tested to see if its DNA matched Amelia's, and most people have dismissed the story about the crabs now. Still, it could be true. One of the most famous pilots in history may have been eaten alive by crabs on a remote beach. Would you rather face off against a giant lobster or a giant crab? Let us know what would scare you most in the comments, and thanks for watching. Be sure to hit subscribe and come back soon for more.